Hi, and welcome to InstaClinic. In the next 3 minutes, we're going to talk about a strategy that can have a major impact on your program.
The game-changing strategy I want to talk to you briefly about is called the 10-80-10 principle. And I came across this in Urban Meyer's book entitled Above the Line. Incidentally, if you have not read that book, it is fantastic and I would highly recommend it. Now, his 10-80-10 principle is really just a strategy, and it's a strategy for getting the most out of each individual within your program. Now, this can be your players and your coaches, so think of it in those terms. Now, this is a means by which we can categorize all the people in our program, and we're going to put them into 3 buckets to start. This outer ring is what Urban Meyer calls a resistant ring, and that's the 10%. The 80% is this next circle, the bigger circle. He refers to them as compliant. And in the middle, you got that last 10%, which are elite. So how do these all work together and how do we categorize? Well, let's start with that outer ring. Resistant players within your program are just that. They're players who maybe, for whatever reason, haven't bought into what you're doing. Okay, they're late to practice. They don't show up at the weight room. When they're at practice, they're not working very hard. They're just not doing the things that are being asked of them. And it's not to say we don't want to motivate these players. All right, we're not going to give up on anybody. But at the same time, if you spend all your time with that resistant group who for whatever reason hasn't bought in and they continue not to buy in, you're going to miss out on an opportunity to really move some other players who have the potential to move up into this elite, which are your compliant players. Compliant players are the guys that show up every day. They're there on time. You can count on them most any time. They do what's asked of them. They're putting out a steady workload at practice, all those types of things. They're committed players. They're the nucleus of your team. All right? So again, you would love to see some of these folks down here, some of these players, move into this section. But don't beat your head against the wall trying to do that, because many times that's a losing proposition. Now, that last segment is your elite players. Now, these guys burn hot. They're extremely motivated, and it's an internal motivation. These are the guys that come early, they stay late, they watch extra tape, they want extra meetings. They're going to do anything and everything that they can in order to attain greatness, because it's what's in them. Now, the challenge for you as a coach then is, how do I take some of this group in the 80% and get them into that 10%? All right? And that's what you as a coach have to determine. What are the things that I can do to help some of these compliant players, quality, nucleus of the program type guys, move them into that special category, that elite category, that really driven category. All right? And that's why you coach, because that's a lot of fun to be able to do that. All right? Now, with that being said, when your team has 15 or 20 or 25% of its players and coaches inside of this ring in that elite segment, you're going to win a lot of football games. You're going to play in the playoffs, and potentially you're going to play in some championships. So again, move those compliant players into that elite segment, and special things are going to happen. Now, what I would recommend doing, take out your roster, categorize your players, see where they're at right now. Then have a plan of action with your coaching staff and say, how are we going to move these players and get as big a population in this elite section as we possibly can? That's the big question. So I hope you enjoyed this, and we'll see you next time.
I hope you enjoyed this video clinic. Please subscribe to InstaClinic so that you stay connected to this one-of-a-kind football resource.